Hey everyone, Dave Tilley here from Shift, and I just wanted to make this video and kind of help explain, how to use the wellness and the tracking journal, because we have other videos that are kind of breaking down flexibility or, different things for complexes. And I think those things are awesome and helpful to use. But I think sometimes the wellness journal, when people get it, can be a little bit overwhelming to start from. So I'd like to just kind of break down the basics of the wellness journal and how to use it and kind of some ideas to think about. That way you can kind of jump right in and not feel like it's too much. So when you first open the journal, this is the PDF version, obviously, that we have for making it, but you guys have a live version. So, when you jump in there, you'll see some quick little, how to use and how not to use these things. And really the big takeaway here is we want this tool to be something that is used mainly to help increase communication between coaches and parents and medical providers and gymnasts and athletes. So we don't want this to be, something where somebody looks at the numbers and swears by the numbers and changes too much about their training. It's good to use these numbers and kind of influence how you have your discussions, but it's really not an end all be all. It's just a way to kind of get better insight into how the athletes are feeling. What do the training notes look like? How do you do things before and after, using goal setting, looking back at the week and kind of influencing the future week. It's just, again, a way to have a nice little tracking system. And it's also a way to really have good conversations between coaches, medical providers, and everyone involved. And so that being said, it's not a replacement for medical care, right? Like, you need really good medical care to follow. You need great coaching care. You need, obviously, support from people like nutritionists and mental health providers. So I don't want people to use this journal as a replacement to really high quality services from professionals, but it's definitely a great way to get more out of your training and to make sure you're really prioritizing your health and maximizing the performance and the training benefits that you have, as well as the recovery benefits. So after you see these little intro journals here, you'll see these weekly pages, these reminders that I will kind of break down in this video. But the blue is the weekly page, and then the green and the red are kind of the daily pages, as we'll talk about. I'll review what those things are. And then as we have the daily pages, those go together into a monthly page where you kind of review the entire month, or the blue page, you review an entire week. Then we have the year in review as well. And so just want to kind of share these real quick. But when we break it down, really the daily training log is kind of the meat and potatoes of the entire journal. So every day has an A and a B, right? So A is for before, B is for after training or practice or stuff like that. So you really want to look through the week, because there's 14 days to have before and after, 14 pages that correlate to the 7 days. And it's really important that you do these every single day, before or after, because they guide how your training is going and they give you kind of these ideas to look at and reflect upon in the week. So when you start over here in the top left-hand corner for an A day, the 4 things we're going to look at for wellness are going to be sleep quality, physical readiness, energy readiness, and overall mood. And I'll explain what those mean right now. Okay. So sleep quality, this is a marker of just how your night's sleep was from a quantity point of view, but also a quality point of view. So when we say quality, we mean how many hours did you get, right? The average that we'd like to see is 8 or more. So if you get 8 hours of sleep and it was really high quality sleep, you were slept sound through the whole night, you weren't tossing and turning, you didn't have to get up for any reason, you would rate that higher, right? So 0 would be really low hours of sleep with really terrible quality. You feel kind of not so great about that. Versus a 10 would be you slept, 8 to 9 hours, you felt great throughout the whole thing, you're really refreshed when you wake up. So in all of these qualities here, 0 is kind of the lower end or the not ideal situation. 10 is the more ideal situation. So they all go from 0 to 10 in ascending order, and that's important for this wellness score we'll talk about in a minute. So sleep quality, again, 0 to 10, did you have enough hours of sleep and were they high quality? For physical readiness, right? So that means overall, how does your body feel from like a soreness point of view, right? So 0 would be you're very sore, you're feeling kind of beat up, you're a little run down from training, you're kind of like maybe a little bit overworked and you're feeling tired, which is a good thing. You want to trade hard, but you're really not at your peak level of muscular readiness, right? So physical readiness is more about how you feel from a muscular point of view. So if you're very, very sore and you're very, very kind of creaky and cranky and tired, you would probably put like a 2 or a 3, right? But if you feel like you have no soreness at all, you're really full of energy, ready to go, your muscles feel like they can work really well, your body feels great, you'd go up more towards the 10 side of things. Versus energy readiness is kind of your levels of energy as it reflects your overall feeling of readiness for excitement and excitement to go into the workout. So again, 0 or 1 or 2 is like really low energy. You're exhausted. You don't really have a lot in the tank that day. Versus 10 is like you feel amazing. You're revving to go. Your energy is kind of through the roof, right? So view this as a gas tank is a good way to kind of do it, right? Is your gas tank on empty or is your gas tank on full? And a lot of that comes down to, again, how you slept, how you were fueling yourself yourself with performance with food and water, how you were managing your stress, all that kind of stuff kind of plays into your energy readiness. So that's the third one that we do here. And the fourth one is overall mood. Okay. So your mood being like, are you on the lower end of things where you're tired, something's bothering you, you're a little cranky, something's really like, not sitting well with you, you have some, mental or emotional stuff going on that's not the greatest, you're worried about something in your training. Or 10 is like you're feeling like really excited, you're in a great mood, you're happy, you're ready to roll, like nothing's really bothering you too much, right? So 0 to 10 for all of these four, you add those up and you get a 0 out of 40%, right? So let's just say, for example, you're having a tough day, 5 on your sleep quality, 5 on your physical readiness, your muscles are pretty sore, 5 on your energy readiness, you don't feel that, motivated and excited and full of energy today. And overall, you're just like, this is kind of a tough day. So it's a 5, right? So that would be a 20 out of 40, which would give you a 50% for the wellness score. Okay. And so some days you're going to feel like that because training's hard and you want to kind of get to that 50%. It's supposed to be like you're feeling a little run down, but we're going to use these throughout the weeks and the months to track how our training is going. So that's the first thing you do every day is your wellness scores before. Okay, below that in the comments section, you just write anything you're feeling, honestly, like about these wellness scores. Did you not sleep well? Is there something bothering you? Do you need to tell, your parents, coaches, or a medical provider something? Is there something that's on your mind about a meet coming up that you're nervous about? Just anything you want to put in here. I mean, start if maybe your back's feeling sore or something's cranky. You put those in here for yourself, and if you want, you can share those with people, that you feel. Okay, and then down below, you're going to put your goals for training. Like, what do you want to get out of training? For some people, it's going to be, I just want to do this skill with a lot of confidence and be happy. For some people, it's I want to get through the conditioning. For some people, you have a mock routine or meets, you want to get through that. There's a lot of different things that could be, but you want to just essentially write your goals for the day that you have to kind of focus on something, whether it's as small as, do one of these skills, right? Or just get through this with perfect quality, or something really, really high level, like hit your routines, or, have a nice round number to look at when you look back on how many skills you did. So that's before. And then after training, right after you're done, you're going to go over here and just write some training notes. Some people use this training note section for during the workout, so that's totally fine too. So if you want to write your assignment and write how you did, your hit percentages, how this went, how that went, all that kind of stuff, certainly you can use this as like an in the workout kind of thing to log how you're feeling or write down your numbers or your assignments. Sometimes coaches will give the assignments, the athletes will write them down, and they'll track those in their journal so they can look back on the week and see what they did. Or you could do it after you could write your training notes about how it went. Okay. After practice notes are kind of summary things here, right? So like, how did practice go? What was good? What was bad? What do you need to work on? All that kind of stuff goes into after practice notes. Do you have to work on something for tomorrow because you couldn't get through your assignment? Whatever else it should be. And then your goals for tomorrow, right? So do you have to carry on an assignment from today? Do you have something else new that you want to work on? Is there something you want to write down as a reminder? Like, it doesn't have to be about practice. It could just be, get my work done before practice so I'm not as stressed. There's a lot of options there for it. So essentially that's what you do every day. Is you have your before training and your after training. Between the wellness scores and all these comments and notes, you have a really good idea about how you're feeling in the moment, and it's awesome to track. Like, sometimes it's very simple, super boring. You just put basic things in. Sometimes it's very elaborate, very complicated. Everyone's different here. Okay. So essentially that's the biggest thing is you go through the A, B, right? You go all the way through the week, and some days you're not training obviously, but you go all the way through. And then what you want to do is at the end of your week, you want to get here and you want to do a couple of very important things. So number one is you're going to look back at your wellness scores that you calculated, right? Remember these things here, these percentages here. Look back at the beginning of each practice that you had that week and make markers here, right? So maybe on Sunday you didn't train, but maybe you were at 75 to 80% here. So you put a little dot here. Tuesday it dropped down to about 50, came back up to about 60, maybe it went back up to 90. And then look at a line and draw lines between these dots to see how your week went, right? Sometimes the week goes exactly as you're planned. If you plan for a tougher day on Tuesdays and Thursdays and you kind of notice Wednesday and Friday that your wellness scores drop down, that's good. That's supposed to happen, right? But if you're doing something where maybe you're having a really, really light training week and it's not supposed to be super hard, but you feel exhausted for some reason, you're feeling really tired. Well, when you look back at the week and you say, well, this is supposed to be, you talk to your coach or your parent or medical provider and say, well, this was a lighter week. Why was I struggling so much? What was going on here? And you can say like, well, maybe it's a sleep thing. You look back at your numbers about, how much did I sleep this week? What was the quality of that? Did I have enough snacks and food to fuel myself? Did I have enough time to do my schoolwork so I wasn't staying up too late? Was it something with my mood that I want to talk to somebody about that's bugging me? A lot of those things can be really good to identify throughout the weekly tracking to get the most out of your training. Okay, so definitely do that with the wellness stuff each week or at the beginning of the week before that you do it. And then down here, just write down any carryover notes that you have or goals from last week, things that were really important to kind of track moving forward. If you have a meet coming up or something, track your overall mood and feeling and thoughts about the week. Just journal on that a little bit. Write any goals or notes for next week, and then anything else that you want to write down about how things are going, right? So this is a really, really important page. If you do the daily pages and the weekly pages together on a consistent basis, it's very, very incredible what you can see from your meets and from your weeks and from your training that you might not have picked up on before. And like I said in the beginning, it's a way to foster good communication with your coaches, parents, medical providers. So if you're doing this as an athlete and talking to people about what's going on, it's really good information for everyone to kind of get the most out of training, okay? So we have these things, the week pages, and this pretty much goes all the way on. If you look through the journal, we have those 6 months. And what you'll see, though, is at the end of each 4-week period, right? So every month, we have a very similar setup, but an orange page for a month in review. And this is a little bit of a time-consuming thing where you do have to look through and maybe write down your wellness scores. But looking back on your month of how your wellness is going month to month is incredibly valuable, right? It's super, super helpful for someone to see the overall scores and trends going down and up. Like if you're kind of living in the 80 to 90%, that's great, but maybe we do want to have some dips there in those weeks where they're really, really hard and your wellness drops a little bit on average. That's okay. That's not a bad thing. Vice versa, if you're always kind of down here in the 60 to 40% and you're really tanking, you got to have a hard look about what's going on and where you can improve that, because you're clearly not getting the most out of your training and you're probably not having the best time ever, right? So go through, maybe take 15 minutes and look at those numbers and track how it did, and talk to people about what you can do to improve that or why it was going so well. If you're doing really great and you have a 70, 80, 90% average, figure out why and keep doing that. That's just as important as when it's not going well. So then we go through the same thing, write down the notes from the last month. How did meets go? How did performances go? Any goals that you met from last month that you're really proud of, any new skills, stuff like that. Goals for next month with meets or school balance and stuff like that. Then any comments and notes. So that's pretty much what we have is the entire thing goes through. And then you will see at the very, very end of the journal, right? If you go all the way down, there's a black page, and it's probably easier if I just go up here and look at the one that's here at the beginning of the journal. But we have these in the journal for people to kind of reflect on at the end of the year, right? When you go down to the year in review on the right side here, I think it's really important that people should take a long, set aside with themselves first and reflect on their year, but then also have a conversation with their coaches, parents, medical providers about what was going on in the year, what was good, what was bad, what was, needs to be changed, whether there's some big highlights, whether there's some lower points of the year, are there some things inside training that were awesome and we should keep the same, right? Or are there other things that, it didn't work out the way we did our conditioning, the types of meets we did, traveling, all that kind of stuff, levels and move ups, were there any injuries, were there mental health concerns? Like I think some of these big reflections, the monthly and yearly ones, are so, so important to really look at some of these trends. So you can see that inside the journal. That's kind of what we have for everyone to offer. So again, you can start from the front, you can read these things. It's kind of a review of what I just talked about, but this video hopefully breaks down, how to use these and get the most out of the journals, which we're really excited because a lot of people have been saying they're super, super helpful. So hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you have a great day.